The sun was sinking behind the red cliffs when the lowly cowboy, Eli Mercer, rode his tired mule across the quiet valley. Dust clung to his boots, the leather of his hat was cracked, and his shirt carried the smell of long days under the sun. He was not a man of status or power in any town. People often ignored him, sometimes looked down on him, and sometimes forgot his name the moment he walked away. But Eli never complained. He lived slow, simple, respectful, and kept to himself. That evening, he was traveling back toward the small cabin he called home when he noticed something strange near the riverbank. The tall willows along the water were shaking, not from wind, but from movement, something big moving in their shade. Eli stopped his mule and narrowed his eyes. At first, he thought it might be a bear, but the shadow was too tall, too controlled, too steady. Eli's hand went to the rope tied to his saddle, not because he wanted a fight, but because he believed in being ready. He whispered to his mule to stay calm, then stepped down and moved quietly toward the river. His boots touched the soft sand, and the closer he walked, the clearer the shape became. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a wandering traveler. It was a woman, an Apache woman, but she wasn't like any Apache woman Eli had ever seen before. She stood tall, far taller than him, her shoulders broad and strong, her posture calm like a mountain that did not fear storms. Her long black hair fell over her back like a dark river, and the beads woven into it shimmered in the fading sunlight. Her skin glowed with the warm bronze of her people, and the patterns painted on her arms looked like symbols of strength and pride. Eli froze. Not because he feared her, but because he didn't want to do anything disrespectful. He knew well that this land was shared, not owned, and that wandering into Apache space, without permission, could lead to trouble, especially for a cowboy with no power behind his name. The woman, though, did not seem alarmed by his presence. She stood by a large clay pot that rested on the sand. One side of the pot had cracked open, and water was leaking slowly into the ground. She looked down at it with a calm face, but Eli noticed something in her eyes, frustration, maybe, or disappointment. He swallowed once, then stepped forward slowly. "Evenin', ma'am," he said politely. "Didn't mean to disturb you." The woman turned toward him fully, and for a moment Eli felt smaller than ever. She must have been a full head taller than him, maybe more. Her eyes, dark and steady, examined him not with anger, but curiosity. "You are far from your people, cowboy," she said in a deep, steady tone. Her voice matched her size, strong but not harsh. Eli nodded. "Just headed home. Saw you might need help." "Two. That pot looks heavy." The woman glanced at the cracked container again. "My tribe sent me to collect clean water," she said. "This pot broke when I lifted it out of the river. The water spills before I reach camp." Eli could see the weight of responsibility in her voice. Maybe she was trusted with important tasks. Maybe failure would reflect poorly on her, and she did not want that. He took one small step closer and lifted his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. "If you'd like," he whispered, "I can help you fix it, or carry it for you." The woman raised an eyebrow. His offer didn't seem to insult her, but it did surprise her. After all, she was strong enough to carry 3 of those pots without resting. Eli was a lowly cowboy, lean and plain, with no impressive strength or authority. Yet he stood there, offering help with nothing but honesty in his voice. For a moment she simply watched him, her tall shadow covering him like a protective wall. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was not a mocking smile. It was warm, amused, and curious, as if she hadn't expected kindness from a stranger in the middle of the valley. "You?" she asked softly. "You wish to help me?" Eli nodded once. "If you'll allow it." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. Most men would brag, act proud, or avoid her. Eli did none of those things. He stood simple, quiet, respectful, something she rarely saw. "Very well," she said at last. Eli stepped closer to the pot. When he touched the cracked surface, the clay crumbled a bit under his fingers. He looked up at her again. "This one won't hold long," he said. "But if we seal the crack with wet clay and cloth, you can still carry enough water back." "There is no clay nearby," she said calmly. "There is," he replied. "Just a short walk upstream. The riverbank changes when the water goes low." She seemed impressed that he knew the land so well. Without another word, she followed him as he led the way to the clay-rich section of the river. He dug some with his bare hands and shaped it while she watched silently. Every move he made was careful, patient, and gentle, like he respected both the clay and the task. When they returned to the cracked pot, Eli smoothed the clay along the broken edge. His hands worked with slow precision, pressing the clay in place. The woman watched him closely, her eyes softening. "You treat the pot like it is alive," she said. Eli chuckled lightly. "When you ain't got much, you learn to take care of every little thing." "You have little?" she asked, sounding curious, not pitiful. "Not much," he admitted. "But I get by." She looked at him differently then, not as a stranger, not as a cowboy, but as a man with quiet strength. The sun had nearly set now, and the sky glowed orange and purple. Birds flew low over the river, and the world around them grew calm and quiet. Eli finished sealing the pot and sat back on his heels. "That should do it," he said softly. "It won't be perfect, but it'll help you carry enough." The woman reached down, lifted the pot effortlessly with one arm, and tested the seal. Only a few drops escaped. She nodded approvingly. "You are skilled," she said. "Gentle hands for a cowboy." Eli rubbed the back of his neck shyly. "Just trying to help, ma'am." She stepped closer, so close that Eli had to tilt his head back to meet her eyes. Her height, her strength, her confidence, everything about her, made him feel small, yet strangely safe. She lowered her voice a little, almost like she wanted only him to hear. "You spoke softly when you approached," she said. "Most men shout or demand." He shrugged. "Didn't want to scare you." Her smile grew wider, warm, and calm. "You whisper kindness," she said. "That is rare." Eli looked up, unsure what to say. Something about her presence made his heart beat faster, not in fear, but in respect. Slowly, with a gentle breath, he whispered the same words again. This time, without fear. "May I help you?" "More?" The giant Apache woman looked down at him with eyes that shimmered like dark amber. She didn't answer with words at first. She simply smiled, a soft, proud, confident smile that told him she understood his intent perfectly. Not disrespectful, not bold, not inappropriate. Just willing, helpful, kind. Finally, she spoke. "Yes, cowboy," she said softly. "You may." And in that moment, under the fading sun and the calm river, something began between them. Not romance, not a bond, not yet, but a bridge, a gentle understanding, a silent connection between a lowly cowboy with quiet strength and a tall Apache woman with a warrior's calm. Neither of them had expected it, but neither of them stepped away. Eli walked beside the tall Apache woman as she carried the sealed pot with effortless strength. The sky had grown darker, and the first stars appeared above the valley, shining softly between the thin clouds. The quiet evening wrapped around them like a warm blanket, broken only by the sound of water dripping from the clay pot and the gentle steps they took along the sandy riverbank. She hadn't yet told him her name, and he hadn't asked. Names carried weight among her people, and Eli understood that some things could not be rushed. Still, he felt a growing curiosity, a gentle pull toward the woman walking beside him. The river glowed faintly under the moonlight, and the woman looked up at the sky for a moment. She seemed to listen to the wind, to the water, to the earth, before speaking. "You are far from your home," she said. Eli nodded, It's a small place behind those hills. Not much to look at. Just a cabin and a field of dry grass. Why do you live alone? She asked. He took a breath before answering. Life just went that way, I guess. Folks move on. Some leave. Some don't stay long. I don't expect much. But it's quiet. Peaceful. She turned her gaze toward him, studying him with slow, thoughtful eyes. Many men fear being alone, she said. But you walk with the calm of someone who has accepted it. Maybe, Eli replied quietly. Or maybe I just learned to make peace with things I cannot change. She did not respond immediately. Instead, she continued walking, her large shadow stretching across the sand beside his smaller one. The difference in their size was clear. She was tall and strong, while he was lean and modest. But somehow, their presence balanced each other. After a moment, she asked, "Why did you help me?" Eli glanced at her. "Because you needed help. Many would have walked away," she said, "or feared me." His voice was soft, almost a whisper again. "Didn't see a reason to fear you." 17 Solin. 119 and didn't see a reason. She stopped walking. Eli stopped beside her. She turned to face him, her tall figure becoming still and solid, like a stone pillar. "You are not afraid of me?" she asked. "No, ma'am," he said honestly. She watched him carefully, as if searching for a lie in his words. But Eli had no lies to hide. He looked back at her calmly, with the same gentle honesty he had shown from the beginning. The woman's voice softened. "My people call me Naira." Eli repeated the name softly. "Naira. That's a strong name." She nodded once, accepting the simple compliment. "And you?" "Eli Mercer," he said. She tasted the name on her tongue, almost testing it. "Eli," she said slowly. It sounded different when she said it stronger somehow. They continued walking, the silence between them now warmer, lighter, like two travelers who had finally introduced themselves after miles of shared road. Every now and then, Eli would glance at Naira's steady steps, amazed that she carried such a heavy pot with one arm, as if it weighed nothing. After some time, Naira spoke again. "My tribe waits beyond those trees," she said, pointing toward a cluster of tall pines. "I must bring the water to them. Do you want me to stop here?" Eli asked. He did not want to cross into tribal land uninvited. She looked back at him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she said, "Walk with me a little longer. The night is safe when we walk together." Eli didn't fully understand why she said that, but he nodded and followed her. As they approached the trees, the sound of distant voices reached his ears. Soft, rhythmic, almost like singing. The Apache camp was close. Naira slowed her pace. "My tribe does not trust outsiders easily," she said. "But you have shown respect. Walk behind me, and do not speak unless spoken to." Eli agreed. He had no intention of causing trouble. As they entered the line of pines, the camp appeared small fires glowing between the trees, families gathered, and warriors standing guard with bows in hand. When the guards saw Naira, they stepped aside. But when they noticed Eli, they grew alert. Naira lifted her free hand calmly. "He helped me," she said in her deep voice. "He comes with respect." The guards exchanged looks, but none challenged her. Eli realized then that Naira held a respected place among her people, someone not to be questioned lightly. She led him toward a fire where several elders sat. They looked up, surprised to see her return with a stranger. Naira set the pot on the ground and faced the oldest elder, a woman with long gray braids. "The water is here," Naira said. The elder examined the pot and nodded, satisfied. Her eyes then shifted to Eli, sharp and observant. "You bring a white man," she said calmly. "He helped me repair the pot," Naira replied. Without him, the water would have been lost. The elder studied Eli again. Eli lowered his head respectfully. Ma'am, he said softly, only did what seemed right. Right. The quiet fire crackled between them. The elder did not smile, but her stern face softened a little. A man who gives help without being asked is rare, she said. Stay near the fire. You will eat before you leave. Eli blinked. He had never been invited to an Apache fire before. Naira motioned for him to sit. He hesitated, but she gave him a small, reassuring nod. He sat near her, the fire warming his tired body. She did not sit far. She sat close enough that he could feel the warmth of her shoulder, the quiet strength she carried. A young Apache boy approached and handed Eli a bowl of warm stew. Eli thanked him, and the boy ran off shyly. Naira watched Eli as he tasted it. The stew was simple but rich, filled with herbs and flavors he couldn't name. Good? Naira asked. Eli nodded, smiling. Better than anything I ever cooked. She gave a small, low laugh. It was the first time Eli heard her laugh, and it surprised him. It was warm and deep, like distant thunder in summer. You help with small things, Naira said gently. But your heart is not small. Eli looked down at the bowl quietly. Compliments were something he rarely received. When someone spoke kindly to him, he never knew how to react. I just try to do right, he said. Naira's eyes softened. That is why you were not afraid of me. A soft wind passed between the trees. The fire flickered gently. For a moment, it felt as if the rest of the camp faded away, leaving only the two of them near the firelight. After a long silence, Naira spoke again. My people see strength in size. They see honor in bravery. But strength can be quiet. Bravery can be gentle. You are not like the men who challenge me. Eli felt a warmth in his chest, not from the fire, but from her words. Not much of a fighter, he admitted, but I try to stand where it counts. Naira looked at him for a long moment, as if measuring the truth in his eyes. You stand well, she said softly. The night grew deeper. The camp settled, with families lying beside warm fires, children wrapped in blankets, and guards patrolling with silent steps. Eli finished his bowl and sat quietly, unsure whether he should leave. Naira leaned closer, her voice quieter than before. Eli nodded, feeling a calm trust he didn't fully understand. As the firelight glowed on her face, Naira turned toward him. He swallowed, feeling small under her steady gaze. But he remembered the same soft courage he carried earlier by the river. His voice came out gentle, careful, almost a whisper. I just want to know more about you, he said. Naira smiled again, slow, warm, not mocking. A smile that told him she welcomed the question. And as the fire crackled between them, and the night wrapped the camp in peaceful quiet, Eli felt the beginning of something unexpected, something steady and kind growing between them. The fire in the Apache camp burned low, glowing like warm embers resting on soft earth. Most of the people had gone quiet, settling into their blankets, whispering stories to their children, or preparing for rest. Only a few warriors stayed awake, watching the shadows between the trees. The night was peaceful, but their eyes stayed sharp. Eli and Naira remained near the same fire where they sat earlier. The warmth touched their faces, and the soft crackle of wood filled the silence between them. The world around them felt gentle, like time had slowed down just so they could talk without rush. Naira had invited him to ask her anything, but Eli didn't want to question her too quickly. He respected her too much to treat her like some curiosity. So he waited, letting the fire do the talking for a while. Finally, he spoke, his voice soft. How long have you been doing tasks like this? Carrying water? Helping the elders? Naira looked into the fire before answering. Since I was young, she said. My mother taught me that strength must serve the people. A strong arm means nothing if it does not carry someone's burden. Eli nodded slowly. Your mother must have been someone special. She was, Naira said softly. She taught me to stand tall, not only in battle, but in kindness. Many warriors forget kindness. She paused, letting her eyes drift toward the sleeping families. But she said a tribe that forgets kindness forgets its heart. Eli smiled. Sounds like she was wise. Naira's eyes softened at the memory. She passed many winters ago, but her lessons walk with me still. Eli did not ask how she died. He sensed it was not the time. Grief carved deep places in people, and Naira's voice carried a weight that did not need poking. He asked instead, "And your father?" She gave a short, thoughtful breath. He was a warrior, a large man. Many feared him. She paused. But when he looked at me, he smiled like the sun rising. He called me his little hawk. Eli chuckled softly. Little hawk? For someone as tall as you? Naira let out a gentle, amused laugh. I was not always tall. Eli. I grew fast. My father said, the earth stretched me, because it needed someone to watch over it. Eli admired how she spoke, not proud in an arrogant way, but proud in a quiet, rooted way, like someone who knew her place in the world and accepted it with calm dignity. What about you? She asked suddenly. Me? Eli blinked. Yes, she said. You ask many questions, but I know little about your past. Eli rubbed his hands together, uncertain where to start. Well, there's not much to say. I grew up far east of here. My family was small. We had more debt than land. You struggled? Naira asked. He nodded. A little. But folks around us helped when they could. When I got old enough, I left to try and make a living. I worked as a ranch hand, a stable boy, a delivery rider, whatever job paid enough to keep me going. Naira listened closely. She seemed to value honesty more than anything. Did you have someone? She asked. Someone? Eli blinked. A family of your own, she clarified. A wife? Children? Eli looked down at the fire. The glow made his face appear softer, almost lonely. No, not yet. Why not? She asked. Eli shrugged. Life's been hard to settle. People want a man who can promise something stable. A land, a future, a foundation. He drew a slow breath. I never had much to offer, so most folks never looked twice. Naira's eyes rested on him gently. You think you have little to give? That's the truth of it, Eli admitted quietly. I don't have riches, or land, or a family name that means something. She tilted her head. And what of kindness? What of honesty? What of a heart that helps without being asked? Eli shifted in place, touched by her words. Those things don't fill a kitchen, he said softly. They fill a life, Naira replied. He met her eyes, and for a moment something warm passed between them, a quiet understanding. A recognition of each other's worth. The wind rustled the pine needles above them. The fire flickered, casting moving shadows over Naira's strong features. She watched Eli with an expression that held no judgment, only curiosity and a growing respect. Eli, she said softly, strength is not measured by how many people fear you. It is measured by how many people trust you. Eli swallowed. Do you trust me, Naira? She didn't answer quickly. Her eyes studied him again, but not in doubt. More like she weighed the question deeply. I trust your heart, she said finally. I feel no danger beside you. Eli felt heat rise to his cheeks. No one had spoken to him like that. In years, maybe ever. Before either of them could speak again, an elder approached slowly. It was the same elderly woman who had inspected the water pot earlier. Her steps were steady, but slow from age. Naira stood quickly and respectfully. The elder looked at Naira first, then at Eli. "The night grows deep," she said. "The stranger helped us, and for that, he is honored. But it is time he rests, or returns to his home." Eli nodded immediately. "Yes, ma'am. I didn't mean to overstay." But the elder lifted a hand. "He may stay the night in our camp if he wishes. He is safe here." Eli looked at Naira. He didn't want to presume. Naira spoke gently. "You may stay, Eli. The night is cold, and the trail is dark." Eli gave a small, grateful smile. "Thank you." The elder nodded once and then walked away. Naira motioned to a spot near the fire where a spare blanket had been laid out. "You may sleep here," she said. "Close to the warmth." Chenner. Chenner mated 41. Chenner mated 41. Eli settled down, but before lying fully, he looked up at her. Naira pointed to the other side of the fire. "There. So I can keep watch." Eli frowned softly. "You don't need to keep watch because of me. I keep watch for the camp," she said. "But also—" She paused. "Because you are our guest, and I brought you here. So." The idea that she felt responsible for him warmed his heart more than the fire itself. As Eli lay down, he watched Naira prepare her resting spot. She didn't use a thick blanket or many comforts. Instead, she sat with her back straight, her spear laying across her knees, like a guardian of the night. Her silhouette looked strong, even peaceful. Eli closed his eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the fire soothe him. He had slept in many places in his life, barns, wagons, under trees, but never in a place where someone stood watch specifically because of him. He opened his eyes again and saw Naira looking at him across the fire, her expression unreadable but soft. "You should rest," she said quietly. "I will," Eli answered. "Just making sure you're comfortable too." She gave him the faintest smile. "I am." Silence settled again. The stars grew brighter above, spreading across the sky like scattered embers from a giant fire. The camp was peaceful and calm. After a while, Eli whispered. She turned her head slightly. "Yes? Why were you alone at the river earlier?" She rested her hands gently on her spear. "Because it is my task, and sometimes I prefer quiet." She paused. "Some say I am too tall, too strong, too different." Eli shook his head. "Nothing wrong with being strong." Her eyes softened. "Many men do not see it that way." "Well," Eli said gently, "I do." Naira did not respond for a moment. But then she lowered her gaze slightly, something thoughtful passing through her expression. "You see with calm eyes," she said softly. "That is rare." Eli felt his heart beat with a quiet warmth he didn't fully understand. Naira shifted her position, lowering her spear gently to the ground beside her. Her voice dropped to a softer tone, almost like a whisper carried by the night wind. "Sleep, Eli," she said. "You are safe." Eli looked at her once more. The firelight danced over her face, highlighting the calm confidence she wore like armor. "Good night, Naira," he whispered. "Good night," she replied. Eli closed his eyes at last. The quiet sounds of the camp, the soft crackling of the fire, and the knowledge that Naira watched over him slowly carried him toward sleep. And as he drifted, one thought rested gently in his mind. He had come to help a stranger at the river. But now, something deeper, quieter, and unexpected had begun to take root between them. Not loud, not rushed. Something slow and honest. Something that neither of them fully understood yet. But neither of them pushed it away. The first light of dawn slipped through the trees, soft and golden, warming the Apache camp as the night slowly faded. Birds began to sing in short, gentle notes. The smoke from last night's fires thinned into the cool morning air. People stretched, whispered to one another, and began preparing for the day. Eli woke to the peaceful sounds, his eyes blinking open as sunlight touched his face. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then, he saw the tall pines above him, the Apache homes around him, and the dying embers of the fire he slept beside. And then, he saw her. Naira sat exactly where she had been the night before, her spear laid across her lap, her posture straight and watchful. But now, she looked calmer. The first morning light fell across her features, showing the strong lines of her face and the quiet gentleness in her eyes. She looked peaceful, but alert. Eli sat up slowly, stretching his sore shoulders. "Mornin', Naira," he said softly. Naira turned her head slightly. "Good morning, Eli." He rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Did you sleep at all?" "A little," she said. "Enough." Eli frowned lightly. "You should have rested more. You spent the whole night watching the camp. And watching you," she added simply, without discomfort or awkwardness. Eli was taken by surprise. No one had watched over him like that since he was a child, maybe never. He felt something warm in his chest again, something steady and hard to explain. Before he could answer, children began running across the camp, laughing and chasing each other. Women started preparing food. Warriors stretched and sharpened their tools. Eli noticed that several people glanced his way, but none seemed angry. Some nodded to him politely. The camp accepted him, at least for the moment. An elder approached them again, the same woman from last night. She carried a small wooden bowl and handed it to Eli. "You helped our daughter," she said, her voice firm but kind. Eli accepted the bowl with deep respect. "Thank you, ma'am, truly." Naira watched him with a soft expression, as if this simple act held meaning. The elder turned to Naira. "Walk with him when the meal is done." Naira nodded once, accepting the instruction without question. The elder walked away, leaving them with the morning silence. Eli ate slowly, the warm food settling in his stomach. Naira ate beside him, calm and quiet. Every now and then their eyes met, and each time there was a gentle spark of understanding, unspoken, steady, real. When the meal was finished, Naira stood up. "Come," she said. "Walk with me." Eli followed her past the campfires and into the thin forest. The morning light broke between the trees in long golden lines. The earth was soft beneath their boots, and the air carried the scent of pine and river water. They walked side by side, not speaking at first. Eli sensed that Naira had something on her mind, and he didn't want to rush her. After a while, she finally spoke. "The elders wanted me to speak with you before you return to your home." Eli looked at her gently. "Is something wrong?" "No," she said, "but they are curious, as am I." They reached an open clearing where sunlight covered the ground like a warm blanket. Naira stopped walking and turned to face him fully. Eli stopped too, feeling her tall presence settle in front of him. She looked calm, but thoughtful. "Eli," she said, "yesterday you helped me when you had no reason to. You followed me into my camp without fear. You slept among my people with trust. These are things not many men do. My fear, and you, and one. Men you are gesnan. I work fear. You slept." Eli looked down for a moment, then met her eyes. "I just tried to do what felt right." Her voice grew softer. "You do what is right without thinking of reward." He didn't know what to say, so he stayed quiet. Naira took a slow breath. "My people see your kindness. They see your gentle nature. But they ask me what I see." Eli blinked. "And what do you see?" Naira took a step closer, the morning light outlining her strong figure. Eli felt small beside her, but not in a way that embarrassed him, more in a way that humbled him. "I see a man," she said softly, "who does not try to prove himself. A man who stands quietly, but firmly. A man who helps simply because his heart tells him to." Eli swallowed, feeling his chest tighten with emotion he hadn't expected. And I see something else, Naira added quietly. What's that? He asked. She held his gaze for a long moment. I see someone I want to understand more. Eli's breath caught. Not from fear, but from something warm and deep rising slowly inside him. I feel the same, he whispered. I want to know you more too. Naira's eyes softened even further, like the hard edges had melted in the morning light. Then you must know something. Eli nodded, listening closely. My life is not simple, she said. I protect my people. I carry their burdens. I stand between them and danger. This is my path. Eli replied quietly. I respect that, Naira. She looked down at him, her voice strong but gentle. If you walk near me, you will walk near responsibility, near trials, near expectations you may not be used to. He nodded again. I understand. And, she continued, you will walk beside someone who is different from others. Taller. Stronger. Many men find that difficult. Eli stepped closer, close enough that he had to tilt his head back to fully see her face. I don't find it difficult, he said. I find it honorable. The look in Naira's eyes changed then. Not dramatic, not sudden, but quiet like a door opening in her heart. She reached out slowly, carefully, giving Eli time to step back if he wanted. But he didn't move. Her hand rested gently on his shoulder, larger and warmer than his. The touch wasn't bold. It wasn't intimate. It was respectful, steady, and full of meaning. You speak with a calm voice, Eli, she said, but your heart speaks louder. Eli felt something settle inside him, something peaceful and sure. He lifted his own hand slowly, giving her the same chance to pull away. When she didn't, he rested his hand gently on her forearm. Her skin was warm from the morning sun. The moment was simple, but it carried 1,000 quiet meanings. Naira, he whispered, I don't have much in life. Not land, not riches, not anything to impress your people. You have honesty, she said softly. You have kindness. You have a brave spirit that does not shout, but guides. She looked down at him, her expression calm and certain. These things matter more. They stood like that for a long moment, sharing the quiet morning air, sharing a first understanding between two very different worlds. Finally, Naira stepped back gently, lowering her hand. You must return to your home now, she said. But the trail will always remember your steps. Eli nodded. And Naira tilted her head thoughtfully. If your heart tells you to return, then come. My people will listen to my voice. And you? He asked softly. She held his gaze again. I will be here, and I will not forget you. A warm wind moved through the clearing. Eli felt something inside him settle, something he had not felt in years. Hope. Calm. A beginning. Naira walked with him back to the edge of the camp. The warriors watched quietly. The elders nodded in approval. Children peeked from behind tents, curious about the cowboy who had helped their strong guardian. Eli picked up his old hat, dusted it off, and placed it on his head. Naira stood tall beside him, her presence strong and protective. Thank you, Eli said softly, for trusting me, for letting me stay. Naira's eyes warmed. He touched the brim of his hat. I hope we meet again. We will, she said. Eli took a few steps back toward the open valley. He turned around one last time. Naira stood where he left her, tall, calm, noble, glowing in the morning sun like a guardian of the land. She lifted her hand in a small, steady gesture. Not a wave, a promise. Eli smiled, then began his walk home. And though miles stretched between them, something deep and quiet connected them now. A simple kindness shared by a river, a gentle courage spoken in whispers, and the beginning of a bond neither expected, but both welcomed with calm hearts.